Hey, welcome everybody, and this is LYB Grimhammer here, and I'm warping in hot with the last of the Dreadnought guides, the Jutland. And here we go. Alright, so here we go. So for the rest of the guides in the series, there will only be two loadouts shown, one for loadout A, one for loadout B. And let's get right into it. So this is the frontline broadside build. We got ballistics broadside, we got flechette missiles, we got armor booster pulse, we have warp jump. Then for our OBs, we're running retaliator, modulamper, slow and steady, and get on my good side. Alright, so we're going to jump into the match here with the frontline broadside build. Now this is a match on Rigu Haven, and I am with a squad mate. So he's playing a Harwich, so kind of like a passive secondary healer. So here we go. We're going to jump right in on this and go straight into the combat. Now, what you're going to see here in this build is you don't run armor amp on the Jutland. I primarily don't because you need the movement from the warp jump. Now, I use my teammate here as my warp in point. Instantly come in, get a nice broadside on the first target, and start wearing them down with repeaters. Now, you'll also get used to doing this in the Jutland, using your secondaries as your primary, because your primaries don't really do much damage unless you're under 1.2k. And even then, honestly, your secondaries are probably going to be your primary source of damage output. Now, as with most dreads, you're going to want to keep your side to them. So notice here as I turn, start putting my side out so I can get that nice energy from get on my good side. And also, you need to be sideways to do broadsides. So the focus of this build is to really use its close range and just the massive health pool of the Jutland to just face tank enemies. So I'm just gonna kind of sit here and push in slowly, using my broadsides, armor booster for my teammates that have all kind of circled up around me here, and slowly make our way up. And I mean that's generally the focus of this build is you're the frontline tank, and you gotta make sure that you're always in the thick of it. You always want to be right up in the battlefield, right on the enemies. You can see here warping right up again. Uh, Instant broadside on this Artie right here, who, if I'm not mistaken, gets a nice perch shot on me. I mean, close range was a really good, really smart move on his part to kind of disable me in the middle of his team. So we slowly start working him down, take him down here. And the entire time I'm trying to keep my side towards this dread right here. That way I can get some energy pull. And notice how he's sideways turned to me because most likely he's running good on my good side as well. And me and him kind of just sit here exchanging blows for a little bit until me and the teammates behind me start working him down. He's slowly going down here, and eventually he's just gonna pop. But at the same time, notice constantly using the energy from get on my good sides, constantly having my shields up for retaliator to keep those broadsides on cooldown. Ballistics are amazing with retaliator because the really short cooldown and the damage and range they have are very nice. Flechettes, obviously, because they pretty much match the range of my broadsides, and that's why I prefer them. Um, Armor booster for obvious reasons. You don't have armor amp for the Jutland, so your armor booster becomes your tanking ability. So, and not to mention, it's really nice to help with the teammates that are you're pushing up with you. So as you can see here, keep pushing. I mean, that's the general focus of this build. This is the Jutland, 80,000 health, and it's a frontline monster. So go ahead and load into the in-match screen here so you can kind of see the statistics of how this build works, how it loads out, what you're looking at, point spread wise. I got 14-10. It was a decently matched game. There was a couple of good push moments where I was able to get some nice tank XP, two double kills, decent damage, 7 kills out of the match, and that's pretty much it, man. This build works great for just putting constant pressure on your enemies and keeping them focused down. It keeps them in that moment of having a tank in the middle of the field on their side, and it's nice to be able to just sit there and have this guy, somebody that's already in the middle of the match, that's just sitting there soaking up damage for the rest of the team to kind of come in and do what's necessary to go ahead and drop the enemy team. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and take a look at Loadout B for my Jutland. We're going to go ahead and rock bombers, light torpedoes, Armor Booster Pulse, Warp Jump, and then for our OBs, we're going to keep it the same as Loadout A. Alright, so here we go, jumping into a battle with the Frontline Offensive Support build. Now, this build has bombers on it and light torpedoes, along with the standard Armor Booster Pulse and Warp Jump. Now, bombers, they're funny little things because they don't have like a necessarily like high damage output. But why I run this as a offensive support build is bombers lay little scramble mines. The mines themselves do decent damage, but the ability to be able to just constantly scramble lock down an entire heal ball is great. And that's why I dubbed it the offensive support build. Because bombers themselves are brutal. They will constantly, you got 4 little bombers coming out and they're constantly like, they'll lay out little mines. And because of with Retaliator and the cooldown, you can just spam the bombers and they just keep flying out and they lay mines. Now take to note that bombers necessarily don't need a target to launch them. You can free launch a bomber just aiming off at nothing and they will automatically go to the first target that's closest to them. So keep that in mind. Now, like I said before, they lay out a lot of scramble mines. So be aware that if you're throwing them out there and they're on the enemy team and you jump into the enemy team and one of them hits the scramble mine, odds are you're probably going to scramble yourself, which you will see in a couple of these little gameplay clips here because I've scrambled myself a couple of times with bombers. But the ability to constantly lock down the sight of the enemy team is phenomenal with bombers. The reason for light torpedoes goes hand in hand with the bombers. When scramble is up, even if you have missiles coming at you, you can still see them. You can still see the missile icons. But with torpedoes, they don't show the missile icons. So these guys are scrambled. They can't see the screen. Next thing they know, these torpedoes are hitting them. They have no clue that these torpedoes are hitting them. Next thing you know, the scramble screen wears off, and lo and behold, they have no health. They have no clue where it came from, and then you just finish them off with your repeaters. Because your repeaters are basically your primary on the Jutland. And there you go, for example, I scramble mine myself because of my bombers. The Jutland is a monster, man. You're going to get tons of tank XP. It's a frontline beast, the assault brick. And, constantly want to keep up the pressure with the bombers build. You want to make sure that you're constantly spamming them out. Every time that you got them on cooldown, you want to spam them out. Now, be aware when they're coming out the sides of your ship, you can shoot them and you can destroy your own bombers. Keep that in mind. Also, there is a weird little aim bug that is with bombers at the moment. Sometimes when you launch bombers on a Jutland, it will cause your guns to turn in on themselves. So you'll basically kind of shoot your own ship for a little bit. It doesn't hurt you, but it is kind of annoying trying to shoot at a target, and you end up just firing upon your own ship for a couple of shots. So the best way I've figured out to get rid of that is to switch weapons and then aim with each weapon and then switch back to the one you want to do damage with. So you can kind of get used to doing it pretty quick. But I mean, that's pretty much the basis of the bomber build. Spam, 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 and keep the pressure up. You want to keep making sure your bombers are going out, laying all those little delicious scramble mines while you constantly push up into the enemy team. And basically putting out as much damage as you can with your torpedoes and your scrambles. And the whole time, just constant pressure the entire battle. Every time the enemies respawn, you want to warp right back up into them. And most of the time, your team's going to push with you. And, I mean, that's pretty much the basis of this Jutland build right here. So, we're going to go ahead and load in here to the end of match screen. You can kind of see the points. 2295 on the Bomber Jutland build. And it's a pretty fair, easy build to use. So you're going to see here we did some decent Dreadnought damage, 10 kills. Module damage is not going to be too high because bombers don't do that much. It's their scramble utility that makes them so awesome. And then you can see kind of the end of board screen here coming up. And appreciate you guys for watching the Jutland video. The next series in the guide will be Destroyers, and hope to see you then. Thank you for watching.